My name is Elara Vance. I'm 34. 3 days before the historic Ridgewood Library reopened, my father called. I was in the restoration shed, planing a warped oak panel back to true, sawdust on my sleeves. Radio playing low, caller ID said Dad. I answered with my shoulder because both hands were holding calipers. 6 words, that's all it took. I'm not doing the ribbon cutting with you. I set the plane down, wiped my palms on my apron. Counted to 5. 5 seconds doesn't sound long until you're the one listening to the silent stretch. Your brother's investors are flying in. He needs the front row for the photo op. You know how these things work. I did know. I'd known since I was 12, and he got a trumpet solo while I tuned the stage piano. Since I paid for my architecture degree with weekend drywall jobs while his trust fund covered his brand launch. Since I learned that in our family, attention was a limited resource, and I was always the overflow. 10 minutes later, my mother called to tidy the edges. It's just a ceremony, Elara. Cut the ribbon alone, it's very modern. She said modern like it was a consolation prize. 48 hours later, 200 people would hold their breath when those bronze doors swung open. And the hand resting on my arm wouldn't be my father's. Arthur's garage smelled like lime mortar and old paper. He was sanding a reclaimed beam when I walked in. 68. Hands mapped with 40 years of stone, steel, and quiet labor. He didn't ask why I was there. He just set the sandpaper down. My dad's out, for the doors, for the photo, for the ribbon. He wiped his hands on his apron. Looked at me like he was reading a load chart. What time do you need me? Not are you sure, not let me think. Just the next breath, the kind of answer that doesn't arrive. It's already been waiting. Saturday, 10, I'll be there at 9:30. He picked up the sandpaper, started again. Quieter. Kiddo, I've been waiting for you to ask. I grew up in a house where love felt like a load-bearing wall that only held weight when it was convenient. My brother was the showpiece. I was the foundation, invisible, expected to hold. When I was 14, I built a tool shed from scrap lumber and a tarp. It wasn't pretty, but it kept the winter frost out. My dad called it a hobby. My mom called it clutter. I called it practice. Years later, I learned what ecologists already know. Forests don't survive because of the tallest trees. They survive because of the mycelium underneath. The quiet, tangled network that shares nutrients, warns of drought, and keeps the whole system alive when the surface dries up. My biological family stopped sharing nutrients years ago. They just kept taking shade. Arthur didn't. He showed up. Fixed hinges I didn't ask him to fix. Left soup on my porch when I worked late through flu season. Taught me that timber framing doesn't hold because of glue. It holds because of precise fit. Because 2 pieces choose to bear the weight together. Friday night, the rehearsal dinner, 30 guests, all chosen, my college roommate. 2 women from the community garden collective. Ruth, who kept my grandmother's letters safe for 11 years. Arthur arrived 20 minutes early, then helped the caterer fold tables because he couldn't watch someone do it wrong. He stood for the toast, held his glass like he held a chisel, firm like he meant it. I'm not a man of many words. Ask Elara, she'll confirm. Light laughter, but I'll say this. 3 years ago, a woman walked onto a restoration site and read a cracked lintel like a book. I liked her immediately. He paused, looked at me. I never got a daughter. God just made me wait a little longer. The room went quiet. I felt my throat tighten. I looked at his cuff. A trace of sawdust caught in the fold. He always came straight from the shop. He always showed up straight from wherever life was keeping him busy. That was Friday. Saturday was the reopening. I woke at 5. The sky was pale gray. Arthur texted, ready when you are, tie is straight, checked it 4 times. Marcus, my partner, texted, see you at the doors. I'll be the one who can't stop smiling. I looked at my hands. Calluses from drafting pencils. A thin scar on my left thumb from a slipped utility knife. Dirt under the nail I missed in the shower. These hands drafted permits. Hauled stone. Shook hands with city council. Arranged wildflowers for a ceremony my own parents treated like an optional meeting. I finished my coffee. Pinned my grandmother's pearl earrings to my coat. Picked up the velvet clutch with her letter inside. Drove to the library. The doors were already propped. Climbing ivy framed the archway. Copper vases held late-season dahlias and rosemary for remembrance. I'd placed it there on purpose. I peeked through the side window. My family sat in the back row. Right corner, Richard in a dark suit staring at his shoes. Donna rigid, purse on her lap like a shield. My brother already checking his phone. They came. Not to stand with me, to stand near me. Attendance as alibi. I let the curtain fall, turned back to the room. Ruth was crying quietly. Arthur was brushing something off his sleeve. My friends were already in position. The coordinator touched my arm. 2 minutes. The music started, soft, ascending. Like sunlight moving through glass. I opened the clutch, read one line. The people who show up are your real family. I closed it. Arthur stepped beside me, offered his arm. His sleeve was crisp. His hand was the same, rough, warm, steady. You good? I'm good, then let's go show them what showing up looks like. The doors swung open. October light flooded in. 200 heads turned, and there we were. A woman who restores what's broken. A man who never learned how to walk away. I didn't look at the back row. I didn't need to. I looked straight ahead where the archway stood, where the repaired beam now held the lintel, where my partner waited with wet eyes and a grin that said everything. I felt Arthur's hand cover mine on his arm. Steady, warm, the rough grain of decades of work pressed against my skin. He took the first step. I matched it. We walked. At the arch, the officiant smiled, asked the question. Arthur cleared his throat. He's not a man who speaks to crowds. He builds for them, fixes things for them, sends them home with leftovers and a straightened nail. Today he spoke. Her family does. A pause, quieter, all of us who showed up. The room exhaled. I heard a sob from the front row. Arthur squeezed my hands once. Go get to work, kiddo. He placed my hand in my partner's, stepped back, sat in the seat that had my name on it that morning. The seat my father was supposed to fill. The reception started. People danced. My brother's investors left early. My parents slipped out between the cake cutting and the bouquet toss, the way you leave a place you were never really inside. On the drive home, my father sat in silence for 20 minutes. Then he said, that man fixed the lintel. Donna didn't answer. He carved my initials into the beam, inside the joint, where you'd only see it if you knew where to look. Still silence. When was the last time we built her anything, Donna? No answer. The road runs flat, the reservoir dark. Some things leave outlines even after they're removed. Monday morning. I opened the drafting table. New order on the desk. A sensory courtyard for the Children's Hospital. 12,000 square feet. Texture gardens. Plants you can touch and smell and hold. Marcus brought coffee at 8. Black. Chives on the windowsill still alive. Arthur came by at 9 with a cutting board. Cherrywood. Inlaid walnut stripe down the center. For the new wing, he said, as if he hadn't walked me through those doors 48 hours ago, as if it was just another Tuesday. I set it on the desk next to the bookshelf he built 3 years ago. Same man, same hands, same showing up without being asked. My phone buzzed at noon. One text from my father. Can we talk? I read it, set it face down. Opened the hospital plans. Started sketching the sensory path. Rosemary for memory. Lavender for calm. Mint for energy. Plants that give you something just by being near them. I picked up my pencil. Drew the first line. Then the second. Then the border beds. Then the entrance arch. Outside, the light moved through my window and caught the carved letters on the inside of the beam. Evie small enough to miss, deep enough to last. I didn't answer the text. I had work to do. 2 weeks later, my brother called. His investors pulled out. The brand launch collapsed. He cried quietly into the phone, not dramatically, just a crack in a wall that had been spreading for years and finally reached the surface. I didn't fix it. I didn't cushion it. I stood on a job site with dirt on my boots and said, I hope you find what you need, but I'm not your emotional spare tire anymore. He cried. I let him. Then I said goodbye. Went back to measuring drainage grades. A letter arrived the following week. Handwritten, my father's slanted penmanship. Postmarked Ridgewood. Elara, I should have stood beside you at those doors. I knew it when your brother asked me to step aside. I knew it when your mother told me it would keep the peace. And I knew it when I sat in the back row and watched another man do what I was supposed to do. I chose wrong. I've been choosing wrong your whole life and telling myself it was easier. It wasn't easier, it was just cowardly. Arthur earned what I threw away. He showed up. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't think I'd forgive me either. But I want you to know the photo of you at 14, holding that level in front of your tool shed, is still on my wall. And I wish I'd told you then what I should have said 1,000 times since. I'm proud of you, I always was. I was just too weak to say it out loud. Dad, I read it twice, folded it, placed it in the desk drawer next to my grandmother's letter. 2 letters, 2 very different weights. I used to think family was the people you were born to, the ones who shared your blood, your name, your dinner table. I don't think that anymore. Family is the man who drives 40 minutes to your workshop on a Saturday to fix a hinge you didn't ask him to fix. Family is a letter in a yellowed envelope from a woman who's been gone 11 years. Family is who shows up. That's my story. 3 days of silence. One letter from a grandmother. A carpenter who said yes before I finished asking. And a set of doors that opened exactly when they were supposed to. If this reminded you that family is a choice, not an obligation, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for being here. I'll see you in the next one.